You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Alert. Clear wrong channel.
This is an exclusive.
How you like that?
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling Max Extra number 25 or 26. I'm losing my count on numbers now. We are of course brought to you by the W2M Network and in partnership with 411mania.com and Last Word on sports.com. And Gary is not here for this one because he did not have time to watch all 6 hours or so of the two New Japan Cup nights that we'll be talking about here. But with me today, though, is Mr. Paul Leeser.
Heyo.
And Tom Reese.
What's going on?
All right. So, we talked about some of this stuff on the podcast, of course, but we didn't have the great Tom on here to talk about it. They started out this show like, this is so weird for New Japan to start off a show with signings. Watching this, how does this make you feel? Like you're sitting here starting a show with Elgin talking about it being a dream for him to sign with New Japan, acknowledging the 2-year deal, and then having Shibata sign right on the screen.
Very different. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I didn't really think about it. I just, you're right. It is different, though.
Do you think like this is just kind of letting everybody know, hey, we got these guys. You don't have to worry about going after them or anything like that. Just
let people know that we're in the game.
Yeah, it's also, I think, sort of some of the step in these newer directions that New Japan's wanting to go in. And Shibata, I think, one of their bigger guys now with the after the exodus of AJ and Nakamura and the rest of the tag team of the Bullet Club, Gallows and Anderson. So don't worry, guys, we got people, I think is what the message was here.
So we should be able to now expect that they're going to do something with Shibata, that he's signed now. The whole deal used to be, okay, well, he's freelance. They're not going to do a lot with him. The whole his past and all that. So big things now for Shibata, right?
I don't see them having much of a choice to go another direction right now. You got Naito working on his way up. Shibata's the other guy. That has star, I think, for New Japan written on him, and away they go.
The business has definitely changed now, so you have to roll the dice, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then you have to go elsewhere.
Do you think before this year is out, we do get a Shibata-Okada match, or aside from the G1, do you think we get at least a month of program with that?
I really think that's going to be Dominion in June or July, whenever that is.
Isn't the rumor that if Naito wins the New Japan Cup here, he's not going to use his cash-in at Invasion Attack, he's going to use it at a different time?
Yes, he said that blatantly in an interview. So
That
Which
to
makes,
me,
which makes me think he's not winning. I can't see him not winning, but I think with that he's not winning now. Because I would think an invasion attack is going to be the Okada title defense, and then May at Tantaku will be Kenny Omega title defense,
hmm
and then back to Okada for Dominion, and then whatever happens in G1 and all that. But perhaps Gato is just going to keep trying with Naito at the Tokyo Dome main event until he gets it right.
I mean, I think it's Naito Okada at Dominion, just because I feel like that's the match to make. But they're seemingly not done with this Goto thing, as we'll talk about too. But I don't know at this point. Like, I mean, I'm not against Elgin winning or anything. I think Naito's the guy you got to go with. The stable's hot. You ride the hot hand.
the thing with Elgin is
Agreed.
I could definitely see him like challenging for another title, not necessarily Okada if he wins, which would be a good idea because it would give you a much more of a surprise element with these things than it just being okay. Well, the person that wins is usually always going to challenge for the for the main title.
Well, then by that thought, let's just say if it's Elgin or whoever wins, they challenge Omega for the main event at Invasion Attack, and then Okada defends against Shibata after a month-long build-up at the May pay-per-view.
That's one way to go too. I could see Elgin definitely choosing to go after Omega simply because, maybe wanting to prove that Gajins have something different in him besides this goofball that Omega is, or whatever reason they want to come up with. But I could see if Elgin wins, I could definitely see him challenging for the Intercontinental.
Yeah. I mean, him challenging Shibata wouldn't be bad either. That would be pretty amazing. So, I mean, there's obviously not anything bad as far as matchups with what's there, but so especially with now Elgin basically putting it out there, what he wants to do, Shibata saying he wanted to make it clear that he was staying. So then, aside from those two, they start off the show with we're also going to be doing Lionsgate tryouts, similar to, the NXT tryouts that we hear about every so often. Do you see this as them now, they're going to be going after other people's talent? Or is this just them saying they're going to hold tryouts just to see who comes and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, if they're going to, I don't know. They might. The talent works differently in Japan, and there are days where I feel like I don't have a complete grasp on it either. But I mean, a raid's possible. I don't see why they wouldn't. But I think it's more we need more guys, younger guys, so we can start building that up again.
It's going to be interesting because, basically everybody in all Japan is freelance now. They're not bound by anything. And you got to think that sooner or later somebody is going to be brought over from Noah.
Yeah,
It's just inevitable stuff.
you have to think with some of the young guys, they have their, especially now that they're starting to really push the juniors, which kind of leads into the next thing. They're bringing back the Super J Cup, and the amount of different things going on here with the Dragon Gate being in it. Of course, you'd expect like a Noah, an ROH, a CMLL. Taka bringing his K Dojo. Suzuki Goon's going to be in it from Noah as well. I mean, there's one that I have no idea how to pronounce that's in there as well. I mean, just at 01. I mean, that's a crazy collection of different a lot, federations happening all in one show. Tom, I mean, do we
That's
kind
how
of
it was in the beginning.
do we kind of expect this to be sort of like all the other ones have been, where it's not necessarily the big all-star guys, it's kind of pick and choose here and there? Some of them are going to bring some of their bigger known guys, some of them are going to be just younger talent, or do you think that they try to really make it about, okay, we're going to really show you what we can do here and make it all like an all-star showcase kind of thing?
Well, you know what? They'll put mostly name talent, and then they're going to have one or two younger guys in there, because when they did the first one in '94, we kind of knew about Sasuke and everything, and the hardcore knew who great Sasuke was, but that show in '94 was what made him a superstar. So I think you're going to see something like that. It's just who's going to be the guy, you know.
Yeah, that's who's going to be the guy is the great question. And when you have all these people coming in, I mean, it's certainly just exciting to see who the heck's going to show up for this thing. Not even discounting the fact that, you know, if they have somebody break out at this show, how much more often are we going to see these guys?
And I'm also thinking that all these other promotions during the summer will probably have matches at their shows to determine who goes to the Super J Cup, you know, to build up the importance of it.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like we have to follow everything, you know, just makes it that much bigger.
Should be would make for interesting shows to definitely see if they do have this, some of the other ones have, like I could totally see Dragon Gate doing something like that, or you know, K-Dojo.
Ring of Honor for sure too.
Yeah, Ring of Honor will do it. CMLL might do it with some of the guys they have. So it is going to be interesting to see if they actually, you know, make announcements that this is happening at their shows, and it'll be an extra draw for those shows too. It's also going to be interesting if that makes the Super Junior tournament any more eclectic, knowing that you have that on the horizon too eventually, pretty much right after the G1. So it's
well, you won't have any announcements of names, I don't think, until after the Super Junior tournament, because you know you don't want to diminish that. So the Super Junior tournament would just be all New Japan, with probably no outsiders. Give or take a CMLL guy or two, but and J-Cup will be where everybody comes in.
Fair enough. So and then, you know, later in the show, I mean, they pretty much have Will Ospreay basically announce himself, which, you know, it took the crowd a little bit to figure out, oh, okay, until he said his name is when they eventually started recognizing. He basically just challenges Kushida right there for the Invasion Attack shot for the junior title, and definitely basically puts everybody on notice, joining Chaos and everything. What do you think about all this, Tom? Just having Ospreay join Chaos just right out of the bat, and he hasn't even had a match yet.
It shows they're putting the focus on the junior guys now. Finally, giving him a big spot, you know, right alongside Okada, basically taking Nakamura's spot. So I think, like you said, the juniors are going to be really focused on now. You know, how long we've been clamoring for that.
Yeah, a long time. Just, you know, they keep bringing in all these outsiders for this thing, which is fine. I mean, Will Ospreay's a heck of a talent. And I mean, when you have a guy like Kushida, who is certainly the ace of that division and probably one of the top draws for New Japan right now too, just it's a good time to do it. And if you can make Kushida look even cooler by bringing in all these other guys, then go for it.
Do you think Kushida will last a while, or do you think it's going to be just there's so many guys coming in now that one of them is going to eventually pick him off and beat him, and he won't have this long ace run?
I think he'll have the long ace run, just might not be the champion all the time, that's all.
I mean, his other 2 runs have been so brief. I really hope this one gets some time to work.
Exactly.
I don't know. Length certainly is a question here, just because of how brief the other 2 were, and that makes me gun shy. I don't know about New Japan, but
Yeah, but back, up until now, it didn't seem like they were really focusing on the juniors. And it seems like now they have a direction, and they're going to really, it seems that way, they're going to go forward with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, at least it makes you look at it like, you say, okay, WWE's doing this cruiserweight thing now, New Japan's bringing about the Super J Cup, and you go, okay, well, it seems like we're really trying to push all these smaller guys and make them a deal, and I think this only benefits New Japan to do this, because you already have a heavyweight division that sometimes, with all this change, it's going to become fresher. So if you really make that undercard such a huge deal with the juniors and all that stuff, I mean, think about how much more killer these shows are going to be every time you watch them, if everything on the show you care about.
And, you can always, if the juniors take off, you can always main event show with the junior. You don't have to waste all your big heavyweight matches on every show main event.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly is a bonus to have that in your arsenal. And I mean, at a time they did, until they lost a lot of the talent and all that stuff. So, I mean, getting back to that point again is going to be an uphill battle, but I'm sure they have a game plan in mind if this is the way they want to go.
Well, let's, the first night was all New Japan Cup matches, and now I don't know why I didn't actually have the card in front of me, but 16-man thing, I mean, you probably know who advanced at this point, but before we get into the matches themselves, like, what did you think about? I thought the first night was pretty awesome. It almost felt like, the old, not last year, because last year they spread out the G1 shows a lot, but in those previous years where it was like you had all these great matches in one show, I felt like we almost got back to that a little bit with that night 1.
The thing
night 1 was awesome.
Yeah, I was just rock solid top to bottom. And fortunately they knew that one match nobody wanted to see. They kept that blissfully brief.
And that was awesome.
I mean, I think I couldn't stop laughing at the fact of Yano just. I like the fact that he comes up with new tricks every time, depending on the situation. Just, okay, I've been beaten up the whole time. What can I do here? Oh, let me just wait till we get to like the count of 19, low blow Yujiro, and then just roll back in there and win. Just, that is fantastic stuff. I mean, yeah, like you said, Paul, at least they didn't sit there and make you watch a 10-minute match that it didn't need to be. After, I'm still not, I'm trying to find the card right now, but for some reason it's not coming up for me. So yeah, after this, we had the Elgin and Tenzan match, which, for all the stuff that people talk about Tenzan, oh, he's old, he can't do it no more, whatever. I mean, this was a damn good Tenzan match, and Elgin obviously dominated for most of it, but he seemed like Elgin's equal for the most part when he's able to make comebacks.
Yeah,
what's great about New Japan, it was short, not short, but it was probably under 10 minutes, and it was just built around Elgin's power moves. Kept simple, and, they didn't do anything they couldn't do, and it was a way better match than had any right to be, so.
Yeah, I mean, Tenzin's obviously no spring chicken, and I think it really helps Elgin out here that Tenzin is a guy that has a very similar style to himself. So they know, even though they probably haven't been in the ring a lot together, they know what the other can do pretty well. And Tenzin certainly seemed intent on making Elgin look good, which is another bonus. So, I mean, yeah, you pretty much get 8.5 minutes of Elgin is here, this is why you should like him, and here's his moveset, and then away we go after he gets the win, you know?
Yeah, and the crowd really responded to him, too. So, that's just got to be a plus for them, that Elgin's really gotten over with these crowds so well that you can kind of plug him into anything, and he just provide, and not only just provide good matches, but he's going to get the crowd invested too. Where you don't always see, Gaijins come in and be able to do that. So, I mean, it's mainly because and the cool thing was with Elgin, he tries to add something too. He doesn't just always do the same thing, and he's able to adjust depending on who he's wrestling. So,
The thing I think that works most in Elgin's favor is that he is already the prototypical build for Puro. He's short, he's stocky, and he loves to throw big power moves, and that's kind of what Puro is built on in the heavyweight division. And that just it helps. It doesn't matter that he's from America or anything like that. He's the style that they already look for.
Anything to say there, Tom? Did I lose him? No, he's there. So we move on to Tama Tonga against Togi Makabe, and a big surprise with Tonga winning, and he does it under 10 minutes. He looked good here. I mean, Makabe kind of did his stuff. He didn't, do anything totally special, but Tonga getting the win, and it also helps him for when he does that tag title challenge later, because he beat Makabe in a singles capacity.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think, Paul?
I love Tama Tonga. I thought this was a smart move. Tama getting the rub here is the right way to go. I feel like they got to move these guys up the card, and here's a good way to do it because Togi is very much in his spot, I would say. Whereas Tama, he's still finding his way because they haven't really let him get too far. And I think he looked great in this match. I think Makabe did a great job in this as well, making Tama look impressive. And, I'll give Tama an extra thumbs up for the machine gun tribute to Carl Anderson as well.
Tom, you there? Well, I don't know. It's showing me on Skype that he's there, but perhaps he had to go away from his phone or something. So, the sad thing was you kind of knew Tama Tonga wasn't going to move on after this, but at least he got the one showing here. And yeah, definitely that machine gun tribute was pretty awesome. I was not expecting it, and then he pops it out. So pretty cool for him on that point. And then we get to this match with two veterans obviously know what they're doing here, and Kojima and Hanma, and this was pretty damn good. I mean, Kojima just every year he still amazes you with being able to do what he does, and Hanma, of course, is Hanma, Selwyn doing his thing, the Kokeshis everywhere, and I thought the whole where he gets out of the left arm lariat really kind of makes you go, oh wow, Hanma's gonna win. Oh no, he's not. But damn it, they sure got me.
That is the thing I will say that worked best about this match is they certainly let you think that Hanma's gonna take this one away, and then Kojima starts rolling, and they give you that brief hope spot at the end, and then he takes it all away with that brutal lariat, and it just works well, and it continues to build up that tag team, because now Kojima and Tenzin can have another shot if they so choose. So yeah, I mean, another thumbs up for me here.
Yeah, so after this we had the one match that was not part of the New Japan Cup, which was Okada and Sakuraba against Shibata and Kushida. And, you had Kushida wrestling with Sakuraba, which, Kushida does have a little bit of MMA background, even though apparently people had a problem with that. And then, you have Shibata and Okada having some interesting little interactions here. Shibata elbowing Okada after he tries to do the little cocky, all right, I'm going to do that clean break, but I'm going to smack you in the chest thing. And Shibata's like, no, I'm not having none of that crap.
Yeah, Shibata does not play that game.
It was like 10, 11 minutes or so, but it was a fun match.
Yeah, it's another rock solid tag match for the books here on this show. Yeah, I really dug Kushida in here with the bigger guys. Showed what he could hang if they so choose to decide to move him up someday. And I mean, yeah, Shibata and Okada is something that needs to happen sooner rather than later. Because as you were saying, the exchanges between the two here were insanely good.
Yeah, the way they both have where they counter each other's finisher there at the beginning too, which is kind of cool. He counters the Rainmaker, then Okada falls, and he almost does a PK to him. It's pretty cool stuff. And I mean, Kushida's talked about himself on his podcast that he has that he would like to represent the juniors in the G1 and everything, like Liger did. So, and Devitt did. So, wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of this Kushida kind of coming in here with the heavyweights here and there. And see if maybe especially with, you don't know if Ibushi's going to be around to take a spot that he usually takes, even though, he wasn't there a few years ago when he was hurt, but there's going to be spots open, and you might have something like a Kushida being one of those guys.
I absolutely, and a fresh face to the G1 roster is always welcome. And you nailed it. With all the people leaving, you're still going to get your regulars in there, but you're going to have some spots open, and Kushida certainly could step up. I'm sure a lot of other guys are willing to step in there too. I mean, it's the biggest tournament of the year.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's cool because you always want to have, probably going to have Roderick Strong in there too. Now that Elgin's part of the roster, so he wouldn't be an outside guy. And so you're going to have a few fresh faces in there. You have to wonder if, Tenzon's going to be able to do it again, because it looked like he was on those last limbs last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so there may be spots available for if there's more outsiders, or they bring in a few guys that you just don't expect at all. That's going to be interesting. And speaking of maybe not so, but the finish was certainly interesting to this with Goto and Nagata. Kind of started out slow. They got much better as it went on, and then Goto wins with the Goto Shiki, which I don't know. I'm okay with him sort of winning with a flash pin, but it kind of just, I don't know, it was pretty slow flash pin there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the story they have with Goto is obviously he's been on this big losing streak and he can't get anything going, and no matter how many title shots he gets, he can't win the big one. And that's been his story for a very long time, and now they're giving him this sort of personality change. And for this, I felt like they told a good story, and these two guys worked a good match as well. But I don't know if they've let the losing streak go on long enough this year, And I question the decision here, but the fan in me, of course, is very happy.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're probably looking at a return of Wrestle Kingdom, and he loses in the final. And then, he gets heartbroken again, and maybe it takes another turn. Because I agree with you in that it seemed like if you're going to really be doing this, then have him, just lose straight out in the first round, and you go, oh my God, what's happening to Goto, all this stuff. But I guess you can sort of tell the same story because even though he's won the New Japan Cup a bunch of times, him losing another sort of big thing is kind of just adds on to it.
Yeah, I mean, and especially if it's him and Naito in that final and he drops another one to him, that's, salt in the wound. Or not drops another one, but he loses his win that he got over him at Wrestle Kingdom. Then some more salt in the wound there,
Yeah, for sure. Do you think he just snaps and goes crazy, or
that would be really cool? Like just a personality shift for him in general, because obviously what they've been doing for him the last couple of years isn't working. Like people have liked him, but he's never been in that echelon of guys where they've been like, you're going to show to see Goto, So push, maybe that turnaround is what he needs. And if, he snaps and turns into this crazed, murder machine, then I'm all for that.
Yeah, it's, I would hope so too. Just Tom's talking to me. I'm trying to figure out what happened because he went quiet. So, I don't know if he had to go do something or, he wasn't feeling good, today. So I was surprised that he even sort of agreed to do the show in the first place, but, I guess if I get an answer from him, we'll let you know here. But he has had a long day at work, so it's also possible he might just want to go to bed. But moving on, we were talking about Naito and perhaps maybe the best Yoshihashi match ever. I mean, it's not saying much, but just, man, Yoshihashi got a lot here and definitely got the crowd behind him, and you thought at moments like, geez, is he going to win here?
And if Naito lost to Yoshihashi in the first round, I would have loved to have seen the I don't give a crap attitude show up here, and I think it did at certain points. But man, I might have crapped my pants if Yoshihashi beat Naito here. Like that, talk about upsets,
Yeah, I mean, that would have been nuts. Like, I don't know. That's one of those where it's like, man, could you really say the whole I don't care thing when it's like Yoshihashi? That would be one of those where it's just like, damn, you'd have to be upset at that. Or if anything, I could just see like Bushi just beating this little crap out of him or something just to try to get the heat back here. But well, Tom, I guess we got disconnected or something.
Yeah, something happened. I don't know. Modern technology.
Yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love that Skype. So, like, we're at the Naito and Yoshihashi match, but what did you think of some of the matches before then? Like, Kojima Hama was obviously one of the best ones until that point.
That was the one result that really surprised me because I didn't think that both tag champs would lose. And you figure, I thought maybe Honda would get at least one win out of it, but like you guys were saying, it's the greatest at giving you that hope. And then right when you swear that he's going to win, it's taken away. It's just the best of doing it. The guy's awesome. But I have no problem with Kojima winning. He can still go.
Yeah, certainly what happens later is the one that you really don't expect for Kojima, but the Tonga one makes sense, right, Tom? Just he's the one challenging for a tag title match, so you kind of add more to it with him beating Makabe.
Well, you still also have, seems like every tag team champion has to do the mandatory defense against Kojima and Tenzan at least once. It just seems like it's something that always happens. Every champ always faces Kojima and Tenzan, until Kojima and Tenzan are no more.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, well, it's not like you just have this huge number of tag teams going on in the heavyweight division either. So they don't
You
have
give yourself options. It's nice to have options. You can go either way. And smaller show, you can have Kojima and Tenzan main event against those guys for the belts.
right.
Fans will like it.
Yeah, you can have the whoever Tonga's partner is at the bigger show, or whatever, to make it seem like. Do you think Tonga might win those titles with whoever it is his partner is? It seems
I
like they're
really
giving
don't
him a
think
big
so.
push.
Yeah, but I got a feeling that this is just a hunch, but being that the junior guys are starting to be focused on, I think we've talked about it before, where it's like maybe a junior tag team guy, like the Red Dragon, could start facing the heavyweights. And I think you're going to start seeing that. I really think something like that is going to be somebody like that is going to be the one to beat Hanma and Makabe.
I could see Tonga and his mystery partner winning just to establish another team.
That's yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna go that way, 'cause I think there's some mileage to get out of a Makabe and Hama run that's worth exploring. I feel.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because those guys can hold the belts for a while because everybody likes them, and they're big stars for being on TV and everything. So,
And it's the greatest job in the world for Makabe because they'll just get injured, lay outside, and Hamna does all the hope spots and takes the beating until the end, and Makabe comes in and cleans house and wins. Can't ask for a better job.
That's so true, though.
Works
Makabe
every time.
Makabe can just be the face that talks, and does a little work, and then he can't complain that you can't understand Hama because Hama does all the work in the in the ring, so it works out. What do you think of Yoshihashi and Naito? I mean, I think this is the first time that you can say with Naito having that gimmick that he can turn it on when he wants to.
Yeah, it seems this is actually the first time that he more or less toned the gimmick down and went to the old athletic Naito. Where before, like half and half with the stalling and the gimmick, and then as the match progressed, you would get into the old Naito, the athletic, quick movements. And this one was like all guns blazing from the beginning, really. Which was cool to see Yoshihashi get, something like this, a high-profile match.
Yeah, he certainly had to go through a lot to, get to this point, and then at least he gets something like this, So, do you like this, Paul, where he kind of does the gimmick until the bell rings, and then he gets a bit more serious, or do you want him doing the gimmick the whole time, kind of like what we saw in the G1?
I preferred the G1 portion, really. But to make people feel like he's still a threat, I think you got to do stuff like this. And certainly with him being the hot hand right now, going this direction makes a lot of sense.
I think he does so much of the gimmick in other places that it's kind of okay. Because, he still does the whole I take forever. Literally, it took like 3 minutes just for him to get to the ring. I mean, I think him and Undertaker could now have a race to see who gets there faster.
Yeah, and plus, probably now you'll see him do more of this in like just serious type matches, main event type matches, where he'll really play the gimmick up when it's like in a tag match in the middle of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he certainly played it up during the Honor Rising set earlier this year, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool that he has the two different, like, he'll come out with the shirt and the hat when the mask doesn't matter to him, and then he'll come out with, the gear and a suit or whatever with the mask. If the
The white suit rocked.
yeah, I mean, talk about that suit. That's pretty spiffy there for Naito. I mean, you like that furry mask, Paul? I mean, you want to wear one of those?
I like the metal mask better.
Yeah, it was certainly different. I don't know if it was good different.
No.
Yeah, it's I did like the old mask. I think maybe he thinks it's stealing a little bit stealing a little bit of Evil's shine, since he's all the king of darkness or whatever. Speaking of though, Ishii and Evil have the best match on this show. Fantastic stuff from both men, and Ishii got the kick out of, or not Ishii, Evil got the kick out of a lot of his stuff, and Ishii has to put him away with the brainbuster, but damn, this is the first time I think Evil really showed you what he can do. Some of the things that we kind of saw in Ring of Honor that we hadn't seen yet here, and I love the Ishii stealing the STO and doing it. That was great.
I thought that Ishii made this match because you could see, like, when he was doing the elbows, when Evil was doing the elbows, you could see Ishii almost in storyline, but it seemed like it almost real. Like, come on, lay it in. This is the semi-main event. You gotta really, like, step it up. And from that point on, it was really, Evil was really on. But I just had the feeling in the beginning it was just almost like he didn't want to step on Ishii's toes, so to speak. But Ishii, like, willed him to be a main event type match. It really is a high profile match that he's ever had yet. So.
Yeah, I mean the two guys are co-main eventing, and Evil's working with a guy who has certainly been on fire ring performance wise for the last 2 or 3 years. And Evil sort of stepping up his performance to match Ishii really makes him look like he could contend for that never openweight title if he wanted to, which would be nice. But I mean, these two they beat the living bejesus out of each other, and that is something that always will be appreciated by me.
Yeah, and
Ishii's incredible. I don't know how he does that.
Oh man, Ishii I think people don't give him enough credit when it comes to how good he is, and he could have easily been a, wrestler of the year guy, but you've got guys that are obviously more well known and higher profile, but he was wrestling just as good matches as anybody else, and hopefully now a lot more people get to see that, because he's so good, and I hope people can start giving him more credit for that, because everything from his facial expressions to how he does things, there was a lot of beating everybody up kind of things here, but there was also wrestling in here, so I enjoyed it.
And you know what?
For that.
Anybody can go in there and throw forearm, do the beating people up, but it's almost like Hanma, where he gives you that hope and he makes you believe. Ishii's the same way with it. In your face, hard hitting style. He makes you believe it. He makes you believe everything that's happening in that match, and that's the sign of a great worker.
I completely agree with that, and probably because 80% of the time, I wouldn't be surprised if he was hitting you at least half as hard as he could. The dude is triple tough. That. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's also what makes it great, is that he makes it look like it's harder than it really is. And people always, he's being so stiff. He's really not. He's being very safe with you, but he's making it look like he's about to, like, freaking kill you, even though, I mean, those headbutts to the throat, I'm sure, never feel great at all. But and it's always amazing to me too. He's supposed to be this heel, but you love him by the end. That's how good he is too.
Yeah, I think
there's no way Yeah, there's no way I can think of Ishii as a heel anymore after seeing a video on YouTube where he was in a music video with some girl over there shaking him on the beach. Awesome. Ishii is the man.
I think, Chaos sort of being turned face in the light of Bullet Club and all these other stables popping up. I think he's sort of the epitome of that. He's a guy who maybe supposed to be heel, but I mean, when the time comes, you look at the tough guy and be like, man, I love that guy. He's great.
And I hope they do an Ishii Okada match at some point, because that'd be great. And Geto and Okada being there on commentary, that was Geto gets very emotional going on with that stuff, and
I'll say this about the commentary. You don't understand a word of it, but it came through on this show so much. You could feel the energy of the commentators. You didn't even have to understand what they're saying, but they were so into the match, and you couldn't help but get into them. It's they were really good.
I mean, and Liger's really good at that too. Anytime he's on the commentary, he's going to get really excited about the matches that are going on, and he's going to get really into, when the faces are doing stuff and all that. So it really makes you keep paying attention because he gets excited, so you're getting excited. But moving on to that main event, I mean, listen, I don't think anybody, I mean, I know Okada did some good stuff with Fale as well, but Tanahashi always seems to get the best out of Fale anytime they are in the ring together. And we talked about the possibility of this happening here to maybe give Tanahashi a little bit of a break. And they do it. They went ahead and have Fale beat him. And, nice little surprise there to end the show, even though they botched the finish a little bit. It looked like he was supposed to hit the grenade with Tanahashi falling down, but he had to pick him up again to do it. But other than that, I mean, they kept doing that story of Tanahashi avoiding the bad luck fall, and I thought it worked pretty well here.
Yeah, I mean, the two have certainly had better matches, but I think Fale certainly held his own. I think him going over is the right move, especially if they're trying to give Tanahashi the break. And, it's not like Fale has to go far, but beating these big names always helps put that shine back on him just a little bit.
I don't think Tanahashi has ever beaten a Fale in a tournament. I think he's lost to him twice in G1.
Yeah.
And lost to him here. He knows how to get the best out of him, or just knows how to make him look good. Tanahashi's awesome.
Yes. If you don't know that Tanahashi is awesome, but now just...
There was a spot where Tanahashi threw Fale into the guardrail, and Fale hit it hard, and Tanahashi came up with a flying body press, and then Fale caught him and just ran him into the ring post. It looked like it hurt. I was like, Jesus, God. But that's Tanahashi, do whatever he got to do to make the match.
Mm-hmm.
He really shouldn't be doing that, but he does.
Right, exactly.
Does it anyway.
I don't think he knows how healing works.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he does either. He still does those, high fly flows to the outside and all that stuff too. I mean, I did like the way he was able to catch him for the sling blade coming down. That was pretty cool. Just great stuff by Tanahashi, and then Fale moves on, and that's the end of night one, which was, like Paul said, just really solid up and down. There wasn't a bad match on the show at all. Definitely worth watching for anybody out there that has New Japan World. Yeah. Agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I
Absolutely.
don't think there's a match on here below. Well, a match that gets a significant amount of time that isn't below 3 stars. I'll say that much.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I mean, if throwing Yano and Yujiro out,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the right finish for those two guys anyway, so.
Yeah, no, the live crowd didn't even want to see that, so.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was sitting there going, yeah, we just want to see Yujiro, and Yano just spared us the boring offense of Yujiro there. But I mean, so we move on to the second night, and I'm really not going to talk about the ones that don't have anything to do with the New Japan Cup because this stuff is kind of on the older side at this point. I will say that I like the 10-man. They found a way to make that fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes these multi-man matches aren't the greatest thing, but they've been really actually hitting it well with these multi-mans lately. You know, we complain about a lot of these, especially when you get to like the house shows that aren't these kind of shows, but they've been making them work.
Yeah, I mean they keep a good pace and all that stuff. I mean, you could say the opener between Jay White and David Finlay was another solid entry in their massive series that they're going to be having. And I mean, Finlay still can't get that win over Jay, which is something to follow. And I mean, outside of that, I mean, you don't have anything super thrilling, but I certainly think those two are worth your time.
And the 10-man kind of set up Nagata and Shibata. So now Shibata has a couple different directions he's going.
Man, Nagata and Shibata is interesting. I didn't think about that, like them having a never match, but they were pretty awesome. Get some of the old guys back in here to do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's another solid worker for Shibata to work with, especially the you know, they still have the MMA roots there that they could both work with, so that's sort of a different feel to the Haas sort of approach to the Never division.
Yes. Yeah, so you don't always have the same sort of type matches or whatever, and especially, you know, they're just going to kick the crap out of each other, so that's always going to be fun. Well, you have Yano freaking beating Satoshi Kojima here. And, well, this was a total surprise, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, this one shocked me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now, because this is going to be really interesting with Naito and Yano.
I mean, I have. It's not a match that I didn't think I wanted, but now I kind of want to see it. But Yano and Kojima certainly worked the match the best way you could. It's 5 minutes, and Kojima just pretty much annihilates Yano for about 4.5 of it till Yano catches him with that hair pull roll up. And I mean, that's impressive because Kojima doesn't have a ton of hair.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, that match was kind of flat to me. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think you said 5 minutes, and you know, Yano has you're kind of limited what you can do with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but they didn't try to go out of their way to have one of those matches. They stuck to the formula that they knew would work, and that's really all I think you can ask for a Yamano performance.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah, I just hope they just overbooked the crap out of the Yano and Naito match. Just why not? Just have Bushi and Evil in there. You bring some Chaos people in there, and just, you know, just have a ton of fun with it. Or they can just go the usual route with Yano matches, but I'd imagine Naito would be smarter in that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Naito wins in 2 minutes. I like to turnabout fair play.
I would be completely okay with that, especially if Yano goes for a couple of the tricks and Naito just completely reverses out of him and being like, dude, I know that one. I use that one.
Well, speaking of a nice trick, this Irushi Goroshi into a gun stun was great in this Tama Tonga and Hiroki Goto match. The shoulder was up for Tonga. They still counted him down, though, and Goto wins. I don't know if that was supposed to happen or not, but it's there.
It's there is a good way to put it. Like, this would have been another good decision to let Goto drop it here. Like, losing to Tama Tonga, who has had not a ton of success, I think would work well for the story, but we're moving along somewhere here. I just don't know where yet.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I was surprised that he got this far, so I was like, would they really go with Goto again?
Yeah, as we were talking about.
The story's interesting. You know, it's interesting that, okay, well, now I got to win an opportunity to get another title fight, or I'm not going to get one, you know, I have to earn one.
Mm-hmm.
But would they really pull the trigger on that?
I don't think so. I mean, Goto's got to lose eventually here for this, I think, to have some payoff. So I mean, him winning just makes him back to the same sort of character that he was before, and I think that's the opposite of what they're trying to do.
Well, plus he's got to win here because, in theory, you're going to have at least one of the semifinal matches be your classic match,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to get that with Naito and Yano, so Goto will be that guy to put the classic semifinal performance on, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to say no to Goto and Elgin one-on-one, you know.
Oh yeah, this is going to be great stuff. Hopefully we get something akin to their G1 match. I mean, Goto's going to be bringing it, Elgin's going to be bringing it, so it should be rather interesting here. Of course, that means pretty much that that Elgin beat Fale here. I thought this was good. I mean, it's two big guys going at it, and Fale's not the most mobile person, but I thought Elgin did some good stuff here with a guy that's as big as Fale is.
I thought it was just a tad bit long, but Fale had the hard match the night before, and they're asking him to go back to back with long singles matches, but it was still good. It was what the people wanted. Elgin doing his power, and Elgin gets the win.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of appreciated the length because I think it let Elgin show off a bit more that he can still power the massive guy like Fale around the ring and take just as much as he can get and all that. It's all aboard the Elgin train at this point is where we're at, and I think Fale is a good foil for that.
Well, we definitely get this last match here with Naito and Ishii. I would say it's definitely the best match of the entire two shows. I don't think it's a hard one to say, but damn, this was great. Enjoyed the crap out of it. It was a little bit, shaky in the middle. It took a little bit to get going, but once it did, fantastic stuff. And then, of course, you have to have Bushi and Evil getting involved, attacking Ishii at the end there. But Naito moves on, and he certainly had to go through a lot to get there.
This match was incredible. Once again, just put the gimmick down and then just went in there and had a total great main event. And Ishii is Ishii, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing that I really appreciated from Naito here is that he took the not caring gimmick the other direction and decided to go all in on Ishii, and which works really well until Ishii decides he's had enough and lariats his face off. And Naito getting the great counter to win, I think, works really well for him, and just like they played into each other really well here. And Evil getting the post match beat down on Ishii. If we get more of what we got from the first night between these two, then I'm not going to complain there either.
Yeah, I mean,
And the crowd was, the crowd was so into this. They were even into Naito, probably even more than Ishii in this match for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think it's just they're appreciating the fact that when Naito's wrestling and he's not doing the gimmick or whatever, that they can feel like he's back to the old Naito, like you said, and they appreciate that.
And maybe now, come January, they might accept him as the main event for the Tokyo Dome.
Oh yeah, I think if he keeps doing what he's doing now, I think there's no doubt you can accept him. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you couldn't at this point. The guy's working 10,000%, and like I said, the whole podcast so far. I mean, he's the hot hand that you got to ride with, and see where it takes you.
Definitely the the finishing sequence for this was great. Like, I don't think we've really seen anybody totally counter the Destino, so that Ishii got to do it was pretty awesome. And then Naito hits him right back, countering the Brainbuster into the Destino. So it's like just a really awesome way to end the match and end the night here.
There was one spot where Ishii hit him so hard with a clothesline. And Naito just laid on the apron, like folded in half upside down for like a whole minute or something. It's just like, all right, let me take a break here. Jesus.
I need to get myself back together because I don't know where I am right now.
Speaking of nice finishes, the finish in Goto and Tonga, where they were going a million miles an hour for like the last 2 minutes of that match, was really good. Where Tonga does it, where he does that thing where
the tournament match, at least, especially.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they are still have not had anything close to anything even average, really, on New Japan World since you can maybe say that house show with Nakamura leaving, but even then, with Nakamura leaving and all the stuff they did for that, it was well worth watching. New Japan World, everything that's been on it this year has been killing it, so hopefully they can continue that streak as it goes on. And I was gonna say, speaking of lariats, we found out, not that it's been officially announced, but WWE kind of sort of broke it in their own magazine. Stan Hansen is going to go into the Hall of Fame, the king of lariats, you would say. I mean, for people who maybe just know his name and they don't really know what he did, especially in Japan or whatever, why is he so great?
why
Okay,
what?
Why is Stan Hansen so great?
Hansen was such a believable wrestler. I mean, he was just he was athletic, but he didn't like overdo the athletic stuff. But he cause he was a big guy. He was so believable. Like we were talking earlier with Elgin, the Japanese, they just love that big, thick American guy that can really go, and he was so believable. Really during a boom period there in the 80s too, so.
Mm-hmm. And certainly a reason that I think All Japan still exists to this day is due to Stan Hansen's contributions to that promotion and how terrific a heel he was for them. But I think the part of Stan Hansen's legacy that really matters is the more modern day popularity of the Gaijins can be attributed to him. And pro wrestling in Japan is still, of course, kind of young because it's post World War II popularity as well. And the dude was a beast, and the fact that he was damn near blind is even more impressive.
Yeah, when he did not wear those glasses, he could not see.
Yes.
And he
Think
even
about
took.
that. You have to take those lariats from a guy who the vision is all messed up, and you got to pray that he never took a hit off. You know, he never nailed anybody in the nose. He always hit it right on, and
He did take Vader's eye out, though. So.
yeah. I
Which
think
is
that
even
was,
more impressive because Vader's one of the toughest human beings on the planet.
Yeah, and Vader just stuck the eye back in and was like, I'm just going to keep wrestling here. God.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
back in the day when that stuff was taken very seriously, you know, because Vader was New Japan and because it would bother his eyes so much from that match with Hansen.
oh, wow, I never knew that. That's pretty awesome. I mean, that's not awesome for him that he had to go through that, but, you know. It also got New Japan banned from Sumo Hall for like 2 years because of that. But I mean, for the most part, it's just like I wish I'd been able to watch more of Stan Hansen's stuff. Just all I've ever heard is like what I think about is all the people that came after him. How many people like patterned themselves after Hansen? You know, the JBLs and all those guys. That the lariat became this feared thing because of him. Now when anybody does it, you go back and think about that lariat that he put on and go, man, how does it compare to that?
And even when Hogan would go back to Japan in the early 90s, he would use the lariat and not the leg drop as his finisher.
Well, I mean, we go from having to talk about celebrating someone's career, and I guess we can celebrate his career, but we found out during the middle of the podcast on Friday morning that Hayabusa had passed away from a hemorrhage. And I mean, obviously, you know, with the accident that happened and him being wheelchair bound, he did get to show off in a ring that he could walk again for a moment there, which was awesome sight to see. But like Tom, I mean, I don't know how much you got to see of him, but we didn't get to talk a whole lot about it during the podcast. So, I mean, did you get to watch a lot of Hayabusa? Because me personally, I've only watched that one ECW match, so I don't know much about him other than that.
He was really popular, like I would say, along the tape traders back in the 90s with FMW. But he would just have some crazy matches, like scaffold matches with spider net barbed wire in the ring and whatnot. And he had a really good series of matches with Mike Awesome. I don't know if you remember that name. And he was really over. I mean, he took over the promotion after Onita retired the first time or the second time, whatever that was. And he was the face of that promotion. And it was obvious when he passed that you could see online just the amount of love that came out for him, because it's like he came along to the generation after me when it comes to like tapes and stuff like that. But I remember watching a lot of Hayabusa matches. I won't say he was one of the greatest, but he was pretty spectacular and like, I don't want to say reckless, but he would do some crazy stuff, which when you think about it, his career ended on a simple lion salt that we've seen people like Chris Jericho do for decades. Not something where he flew off a scaffold, not something where he did some ridiculous dive over the top rope into the crowd. A simple moonsault. And I'll never forget the sound of his neck breaking. That that's why it was so cool to see him get out of that wheelchair last year. And, you know, and I guess it was basically a Christopher Reeve injury, pretty much the same thing, but at least he got out of the wheelchair for a little bit of time, which is great for him.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's been in exploding cage matches and has had some Mike Austin that Tom just mentioned. Atsushi Onita, who was the founder of FMW, and yeah, he was really the heart and soul of that promotion. And they recently started coming back, and now with his passing, I'm curious how much it's going to affect them.
And he was also on the very first Super J Cup too.
Yeah, him and
I'm trying to remember who he wrestled.
him and Liger, right?
Liger, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was in Mexico, and they just called him and said, "Okay, there's this Super J Cup thing. We want you to wrestle Liger," and then he went back to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching handheld footage of him from Southern California. Oh gosh, 92-ish maybe, with Onita, and he was under. He didn't have the mask on. He was under his real name, and I can't remember what it was, but yeah. So I remember seeing him like for the first time at 92, just doing all the crazy stuff. That's why I say it's just incredible that we don't see guys wind up in wheelchairs with some of the crazy stuff that we watch with the ladder matches and whatnot, and yet a simple moonsault put a man in a wheelchair. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is like he had this thing that a lot of people were kind of going around with, where he talks about that people have kind of forgotten sort of what that wrestling isn't about the moves, that it's about the pacing, and that it just people think about it so much about doing all these crazy moves and stuff that they forget that there's other things to wrestling that are much more important than that. And I read that and I said, there's a lot of people that probably do hold that theory, especially, like on the indies and all that. But what do you make of what he said there? I certainly think it's true for a certain part of the wrestling community.
Well, you know what? You'll always, it's always going to be a veteran that says that. It's always going to be somebody that's either retired or somebody in their 40s or whatnot. But, and even Mick Foley says it nowadays too, but when you're 22 years old, you're trying to make a name for yourself and you're trying to stand out, it's just, it's hard to sit there with a headlock and get the crowd interested in you. So you gotta wow the crowd somehow, and unfortunately, that's what the business evolved to. Would the Hardys be as popular today as they are if it wasn't for Jeff going off that ladder in WrestleMania 2000 or off the balcony at Madison Square Garden and the entranceway there to Rumble? I mean, that's what everybody remembers. The crashing down off the 20-foot ladder and stuff, and it's unfortunate, but you're always going to hear the older guy say that, and he's absolutely 100% correct. But when you're 22 years old and you're trying to make a name for yourself and make a living in the business, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you're not thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how wrestling has sort of evolved over the past 20, 30 years. It's getting faster. It's especially with the popularization of MMA, I think has a lot to do with the style you see now, because people are looking for more hard hitting action, and wrestling's trying to keep up, and this is sort of an extension of what you get.
And you know what? The hard hitting action is not the bad thing. Look at Ishii. He does the hard hitting stuff. I think the MMA aspect is actually better because you can slow it down and maybe do submissions and draw the crowd emotion that way rather than hitting 17 high spots in a match,
Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't see people go to the high spot well too often anymore, at least when it comes to WWE, but...
Oh, even on the indies, it has toned down. I mean, I know if you watch like the PWG stuff, those guys, you watch that and you think, how the hell does nobody crash and burn?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it just blows my mind, but...
Even then, like, we've started to see this style of with that Busick and Gulak and a few other guys have done, where it's just them grappling for 30 minutes, which I guess you could also say kind of goes back to like the just wrestling and MMA too, where they are kind of proving you can have an interesting match without having to have like a gazillion high spots too.
It all comes down to the presentation and the booking and, you know, WWE, they present people, somebody half the guys as marginalized jobbers and stuff like that. So it makes it not impossible. It makes it hard. But if you promote that and you're good at it, chances of you ended up in a wheelchair is pretty slim.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Daniel Bryan. I mean, 34 years old and got to hang it up because I would say he's reckless, but he was just so damn fast, and he would go so hard. And I was there in those Ring of Honor matches when him and Nigel were doing those headbutts and stuff, and it's just not good.
The sickening and thickening sound you get from that is something that certainly sticks with you. But I mean, you look at sort of just, I think wrestling's more fast paced, and like Tom said, it's surprising that a lot of these guys don't goof as often as they do. But when you're coming up in that style, maybe you have more practice at it.
And you know what? Any wrestling camp, school, dojo, whatever, you're going to learn the basics. You're not going in there to learn how to do 17 flips. You're learning how to build a match from the ground up. But when you get in front of a live crowd and they get antsy and you get to the back and the promoter says, "Hey, I can hear a pin drop out there," you might not get used the next time, so you have to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting as far as, like, I mean, that is true. It's just how wrestling is. Like, you can't go out there and just, sometimes you have to do things that necessarily aren't the safest to get a reaction because of how people are conditioned now, And even then, even if, like we saw in the ROH show, you can go out there and put yourself through tables and nobody cares. So, I mean, it's one of those where it just sometimes it depends on the moment, what's going on, and the people that are there, what kind of crowd you have, and you have to know what they're coming to expect. So
it's tough. I cannot ever fault anybody for with limits. I can't fault anybody trying to do something spectacular, because if it gets them noticed, hey, more power to them.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, and it's like, look at what happened to Hayabusa, look at what happened to Paraguayo Jr. It seemed like kind of things that they do all the time, and all it takes is that one moment, and you go, man, look at all these people just doing all this crazy stuff, and nothing ever happens to them. And, just, so perhaps that proves that it's just one of those where you just never know. You never know what's going to be that thing that hurts you.
Even a guy like Keiji Muda, whatever people know him as, for years doing those moonsaults, just literally did wonder for his knees. But by the time Muda's knees were shot, he had already figured out how to be a great worker and a great wrestler. And he was having better matches, more believable matches with a 50-year-old Tenryu, like in 2001, than he ever was when he was like the high-flying great Muda. So they always figure it out down the road, but to make your name, you got to do something to get noticed, and the way it is.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much covers everything we had to talk about today. So, as Gary is calling now, but Gary, we're almost done with this New Japan W2M show.
Oh,
But
great.
do you want to say something to the people here?
Sorry for interrupting this beautiful show.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? I'm just glad to get on here and say hi to Tom, man. It's been a while. So
How's it going, Gary?
pretty good, man. It's good that you're on the show. And so y'all are on the finale. This is the main event, or y'all actually conclude?
No, we're pretty much like I was closing out, and then you called me. I was like, okay, I'll just let him on because I know it's been a little bit here.
Did you tell the people we appreciate the lastwordonsports.com to sponsor their partnership with them and go subscribe to the W2M network? Hey, that's the least I can do for this, right?
This is why I had to have Gary on here. He always is able to remind me of the things that I forget about. It's just
this is awesome, guys. So yeah, I mean, what did y'all rate the show this week?
oh, I forgot to do that. What are we rating these? I think you have to separate them out, but definitely I would say like around an 8 for the night one at least.
Oh, I'd definitely go 8 night 1. 8, 8.5.
Yeah, I was night 1. I'd give an 8 as well.
Night 2 I don't think was bad. We just had some stuff that was just kind of there, you know. So I'd say like a 7 for that.
Yeah, I was going 6.
I was gonna say 6.5. To take the middle ground there, but those last 2 matches are certainly make that show worth your time.
Yeah, certainly. And like I said, I mean, it's not bad at all to go watch either one of these 2 shows and get ready for that show on Saturday, which we will have for you. I don't know what you're doing on Saturday night, Tom, but we'll be doing a double show with that Roadblock going on. Not the WCW Big Wrestler, but the actual...
Oh, my goodness.
Talking about WCW.
Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody, when they thought about that name, anybody thought about that wrestler at all.
No.
But
talking about WCW wrestlers, before you guys get out of the show, I just got to ask, what do you guys think about the Big Boss Man going to the WWE Hall of Fame?
about time.
It's funny, my buddy and I were just talking about him the other day. I don't know if people realize this, but Boss Man was Hogan's, when he was WWF champion, was Hogan's second best drawing opponent after Paul Orndorff.
No, I did not.
Which is pretty impressive. Yeah, I don't know if you remember him in the very beginning when he was Big Bubba Rogers. He was just a jobber on TBS, and then Dusty came up with the bodyguard gimmick, and he got over big, but he got really good really fast. He was way better than average big guy.
Mm-hmm. The thing I remember most about Big Boss Man was how well he could move for how big a guy he was.
Exactly, and he could carry that gimmick. He made that gimmick work.
Yeah, I don't know if any other man could have made the Big Boss Man gimmick, or even the Guardian Angel gimmick work over at WCW. But I mean, the dude could work, and he certainly he was one of the forerunners for the hardcore division whenever they brought that up too for the WWF, and him and Snow and Hardcore Holly. Say what you will about that sort of being a throwaway, but they certainly put on some entertaining stuff.
Yeah, and his feud with the Big Show always makes me laugh. So, yeah, it's just,
Oh God,
it's terrible what they did, but
the cage was in the cage. Oh my God, I don't even know what to call that thing.
Kettle from Hell, man.
Kettle from Hell, man.
Yeah, the kettle from hell. Yeah.
Definition of wrestle crab.
Oh, man.
I'll never forget the Boss Man yelling on top of the limo with the megaphone while Big Show is grabbing a casket as it goes away. I thought that was like somehow like Boston was a great character then though. He's a great heel, even though the matches weren't that great. I loved just him being such a asshole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, remembering Pepper, and all those kind of fun little things he did. And I don't know. I mean, the guy to me, was one of my favorites when he was at WCW. I just followed him closely. And then, of course, WBF, I did as well later on in his career. I just think a lot of the guy, I'm so happy that he's going to go in this year. It's way past due if you ask me personally. And just got to give him credit for all the hard work he put into it. It was definitely worth his Hall of Fame.
And when he was close to like 330 pounds, and I think it was 1989, that steel cage match with Hogan, took a superplex off the top of the cage.
Wow.
Damn.
I got to rewatch that, Tom. Wow, that's crazy.
It's on the WWE Network. You got to find that. It was incredible.
Wow. I definitely will.
And I mean, think about it. Like everybody talks about, it's going to be much more Texas influence once Hansen and Jacqueline get named. But I mean, you've got some Georgia getting stuff in there between the Bossman and the Freebirds and all that. So definitely a Southern WWE Hall of Fame with and then Sting being the front runner of WCW, all in that. So. If you're a man of Southern wrestling,
yeah.
You can't go wrong with that whole. I almost like after they made all these announcements, I'm like, damn, Gary, maybe we made the wrongest choice not to go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know. D-Bry goes in there this year, you're really going to be kicking yourself.
No, I think definitely he's not going anymore. I think they confirmed through a magazine that it's going to be Jacqueline and Stan Hansen, and then. I think we're gonna they'll announce Regis Philbin at some point, and then that'll be it, probably.
Yeah. What do you?
Go ahead.
No, you're right. Still pretty good class here, and I got to ask the question. I mean, Tom. Stan Hansen's to me more popular for his New Japan work and all the work he did in Japan. Period. Definitely some great stuff in the States, but man, I think that's kind of interesting for them to induct him anyway. I think that's kind of cool.
Anybody that has New Japan World, I'll tell you what, it's on YouTube also, but it's on New Japan World. I want to say it's September of 1981, Stan Hansen and Andre the Giant, without question Andre's greatest match ever. Got to watch that match.
Now, was he half blind at the time when he wrestled Andre, or was he still, can he still see?
Andre was so big you couldn't miss him anyway, but...
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm going to go check that one out, too. I really didn't realize it was his best match.
I wonder if Inoki will come back and induct him, or if they're going to have somebody, or probably JBL or something.
Oh,
Good question.
I kind of hope it is Inoki. I hope it's somebody... like I said... great work in the States, but to me, that's where when I think of Stan Hansen, I think Japan. I just do.
Yeah, that's cool that it kind of does prove between, because the Freebirds, most of their stuff was outside of, WWE or whatever. So a lot of this class is outside of, think of Sting and, Godfather's kind of the one WWE guy and Bossman too, but there's a lot of the other ones are, Jacqueline, the same, but she had a lot of work in other places too. So I like the fact that they will go and honor people that maybe didn't work so much in their company. That's a testament to we talk a lot of crap about their Hall of Fame and the way Vince does it, but when you have things like this, it kind of lends credence to they want it to be a wrestling Hall of Fame.
Because they're running out of guys. They have to.
Yeah, you're right.
But we still have the Godfather and Coco Beware in the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't know.
I know. It's strange. But, like I heard someone say the other day, those guys were entertainers. They did their job, and that's what WB wanted out of them, so that's what they got. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And Paul. I mean, I'm stoked about Jacqueline going in. I'm thinking that's a solid choice this year, especially from Dallas.
Yeah, I mean she's a fine wrestler and one of the forerunners to the resurrection of the women's division. Whether you want to take that as a good thing or not, I guess is up to you. But I mean, it's certainly the without her, I don't think Sable would have gotten to where she was. So
Yeah, that's
Oh,
very true.
certainly. She was tough enough coach and all this. I mean, she had time in WCW too, so
Hmm.
I mean it.
Yeah, and she got her start as a wrestler, ballet manager, whatever, coming up through the ranks. I mean, I remember watching her in Memphis and all that before WWE run. So yeah, there's a lot there.
Hmm.
I mean, I wonder if they'll take too long to put Ivory in after her. You kind of always think of them together when during that time period. But yeah, so after we kind of got off course here a little bit, just remember we do have a normal. And I know there's people that just listen to these when we do these Japan specials. So we do have a normal episode of Wrestle the Max number 186 coming up on Thursday. Well, we'll preview Roadblock in the last New Japan Cup show, and then on Saturday we'll be talking about both of those shows with an extra, of course. And if we'll have covering our normal stuff, ROH, Lucha Underground, TNA, all that junk. Hopefully, TNA is still. I mean, they'll be having their tapings here pretty soon, so at least we get to watch Will Ospreay on TNA. The one time we'll get to see him in a King of the Mountain title match. So
Was he in just like a 5-minute match or something?
no, he's in this. It's all three of the guys from Rev Pro that they used. Big Damo, Jimmy Havoc and Osprey, and Bram and Eric Young.
Marty Scroll?
Yeah.
Oh, Eric Young, okay.
Or at least that's the poster that I'm looking at. I don't know if those matches are separated or what it is, but we'll figure it out. That's the point. But yeah, so until next week, rate and review. Check out all the stuff on the W2M Network feed, on the YouTube, all that stuff. And we'll be back on Friday morning with a regular show. Until then, Gary, do the thing.
If you're not living life to the max,
Not living life at all.
you know it.
Peace.
Yeah.